Good evening, everybody. Doing good, thanks.
Hi, David Moore, Dallas
Hi, Dave.
Morning News. We've asked Mike periodically throughout the year about his contract status in the final year. You're in the same position. Just how you've handled that, and now that you're getting close to a resolution, are you glad about that? Anxious? Just kind of your state of mind on all that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and to be very honest with you, we all know that this is what it is, that it's the last year of our contract, but also to be very honest with you, it's not the first time in my coaching career that I've been going into the last year of a contract. First time here in Dallas, but when I was at the Rams, it was, 2 or 3 times. When I was at the Raiders, it was once or twice, and so it's not new territory, and we didn't approach, I think, our job any differently because of that. We didn't try to do more. We didn't try to do less. It wasn't really ever discussed, although I'm sure some people have privately amongst each other, obviously with the families. And I think the wife and kids know it probably and talk about it more than we do. Rightfully so, because the potential changes, affects them a lot. So I'm proud of our staff and our players for handling all this the right way, and it was really just business as usual because that's our job. Well, so whether we got another year or two on our contract or not, the job doesn't change. And so I felt fine and good, just like I normally would. And I'm proud of our players and our coaches for just fighting, yeah.
Do you remember feeling differently the first time you went through it? And again, life situations change too, right? A lot of times coaches go through it the first time. They don't have a family like they do later on. So it's a different set of dynamics.
Yeah, I think
different the first time you went through it?
Yeah, I would say for sure, because the first time I went through it was a long time ago, and you're just still trying to semi-establish yourself, and you're like, gosh, if it runs out, am I going to get another job? And I think I still feel that way. I came here to Dallas because my contract ran out in L.A. I had a choice to make to come here or stay there, and I felt like this would be a great opportunity, and it has been. So I think the experience of, going into the final year of your contract, if you wanted the number, I think this is the 4th time, maybe 5th time in my career that it's gone that way. Sometimes by choice, most of the time by not. But just love the guys, work as hard as I can, and try to be as creative / sound as possible. And the decisions we made had no bearing on going into the last year of a contract. So honestly, there wasn't much of a factor, with the way that I approached the season.
John Todd Archer with ESPN, you used the word fight a couple intros ago. There was a little get together there at the end of the game. You guys have been supportive of each other. I think it might be a way of saying it.
Yeah.
What did you make of that at the end of the game yesterday?
Great words. Get together. What was one you just said? Just supportive. Those are very nice words. I think one thing that you talk about X's and O's, you talk about technique. I think one thing we really talked about this year, really from the very start, probably especially after the Ravens game, where the team, as a team, we got beat up a little bit, is no matter, especially on special teams, no matter what happens at the end of a play, there's going to be a dead ball period of time. I don't want to see you guys come off the sideline too quickly, because there's things that happen at the end of plays where we have to have each other's back. We have to protect our teammates, and we got to help our teammates up off the ground, whether it's a tackler, whether it's a returner. And so you have seen a couple of times this year, and you've noticed it because you've mentioned it a few times. And it's not a coincidence that this has been emphasized this year, where we haven't thrown a punch, we haven't had a fine, we haven't had an ejection until this past game. And so I'm proud of the guys for standing up for each other and either fighting or fighting back, because that's our job, and that's been an emphasis for us. And I think that's something as Cowboys and Cowboys special teams that we needed to really emphasize. And I'm very proud of the guys for continuously, if you go back and just look at the tape, Turp goes to the ground, there's a pile of bodies. They're going to make sure he gets off the ground. And it's nothing to do necessarily with the opponent. It's just protecting Turpin from unnecessary, curricular post-play stuff. You'll see the same thing with any of our tacklers. I think it's just important to rally around the teammate, get them off the ground, get them off to the sideline, and do it together. And what happened yesterday, I think, was part of the game. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I don't think either side threw punches. There wasn't, there was a scuffle, and it turned into a big pile of bodies in the tunnel. But Whether it was warranted ejections, I'm not really sure. I think the NFL was trying to just kind of send a message like, stop this, the game is pretty much over, we don't want to see this anymore. So I respect that. But I do respect Troy and Jalen and Flo and Buddy and Wanye and the rest of the guys getting over there and, settling it down and getting them off the sideline like they're supposed to.
And with Brandon's field goal attempt, have you seen a 61-yarder hit 3/4 of the way up the
No. Gosh, hit the upright. I'm sure you didn't see me, but I just went to a knee like, oh my gosh. And I went off the sideline. I said, sure looked like you hit it good. He's like, I hit it good. From 61 yards, a little bit of a win factor, but I don't know if it was 10, 15 yards up the upright. Just a great swing and a great hit, and we all wanted that for him, super bad. But that's kind of how the bounces have gone, We dinged one out. We blocked a field goal and it helicoptered in, and, obviously the Cincinnati one, just sometimes the ball bounces in your favor, sometimes it doesn't, and it just seems like a couple of times it just kind of gone out of favor. But it was a great hit and great recognition and a great swing. And, on the bus ride home, I talked to Anger, and he brought it up, like the play clock was ticking down. Should I have taken a delay game penalty and, gone for the record? And I said, no. We don't want to manufacture that. Next time it comes, if you feel like you're hurried, then, yeah, take the delay game, and the distance won't be a factor, then, make sure we're fine. But it was close enough where we went with the kick, and we don't want to force or manufacture a record, but it was close. It was close, and we talked about that.
Solid use of the athletic. John, we ask you about Brandon a lot, but what's your evaluation of Brian? He started in the NFL in 2012.
Yep.
He had the 2 Pro Bowl and All-Pro years. 2 of the last 3 years he's come on as of late in his career.
Yep.
As a holder and as a punter, what is your evaluation been of him?
Yeah, I'll go back to 2011 before the draft. I went out and I did a private workout with him because I was with St. Louis and we were looking for a punter. He got drafted, rightfully so, in the 3rd round. Fantastic pick because of the length of his career. And then I studied it over the years until we got him here. But I think he's progressively gotten better at consistency with the distance, direction, and hang time match. Early in his career, he could pound. And then I think over the last couple of years we've had him, he's improved his directional ability a lot. And then his holding is absolutely underrated. I think if you ask Brandon, a huge key to Brandon's success is Trent being absolutely bullseye with the snaps, and then Brian Anger having the great hand-eye coordination. But then, like we talked about last week, just the subtleties of, do you place the ball on the outside tick of the hash, or do you got to put it on the point of the star because there's no hash? There's so many little things that go into holding that I hope Brian Anger is very much respected for his holding ability as well as his punting ability, because that's a huge part of a punter's job. But I'm super proud of Brian. Gosh, fantastic punter. I mean, as good as there is in the league, in my opinion. And I know I'm biased. I know he's up too, so there's a lot of stake for all of us, and we got to just fight on one more week.
And when it comes to a core special teams player, we saw it a lot in New England with like Matthew Slater. CJ kind of fits in that bill. Do you feel like there is a spot on the roster for someone like that who is a core special teams player and doesn't really have an offense-defense role too much?
Yeah, I do, because I'm the special teams coach, so I think there's room for about 3 of them. But there's room for CJ because of his impact. You can't have a spot, a guy taking up a cornerback position on your 48 that's not a super impactful special teams guy, and CJ fits that. And I think CJ's got years left in him too. And I'm not just saying that. I really believe that. Coming off the pec injury last year and hasn't missed a snap the whole season. That's pretty special. But as challenging as the year's been with the injuries, and our punt team has changed almost every week, which is kind of the staple of what you go to. There's so many guys that have stepped up that maybe we didn't anticipate, but we got a chance to see him, like Keemon Hall. Unfortunately, he had the hamstring, and so where he came from and where he got to was special. And we got Darius Harris onto the 53 and Princeton Fanton. I shouldn't use names because I could go on and on with the names, but I think a lot of guys, especially the young guys, they want to contribute and they want to earn a spot on the team by having a role. And special teams is a great way to do that. Then what you do with that special teams wise, earns your worth the rest of the way, but then it also, allows you the ability to play some offense and defense. So this has been a very unique year as far as that goes, and as far as the challenges, they've been there. but the opportunity for a lot of our guys to play football and establish themselves and prove they can do it has been fantastic. And I'm proud of all of them because a lot of guys have played. And I think we've kept it pretty simple just to let them play some one-on-one ball and not have to memorize schematics. And so whether we were good this year or bad this year in certain things, the important thing is, watching like kickoff tape, just watching how to play blocks, how to leverage certain things, I think has been really healthy for us as football players moving forward.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Being a coach's son, that help you understand last year my deal, just I got to be narrowly focused on the task at hand.
Yeah. You trying to get me emotional. Come on, Calvin. No. As soon as you say that, I go back to, I was like a sophomore in high school, and my dad was head coach at University of Utah, and he got fired, and my parents quickly got me out of school, so they were the ones to tell me before I heard it. Then we got let go with the New York Giants, 2003. I was in the stadium before they fired him, and the chants rang out, Fassel must go, Fassel. And I'm sitting there like, damn, 75,000 people mad at my dad. I'm like, he's trying his ass off. So it hardens you a little bit, I think in a good way. It doesn't make you resentful or doesn't make you hate the game. It just makes you realize like it's pretty fickle, and sometimes it goes great and sometimes it doesn't, but that doesn't mean you got to change. And so growing up a coach's son in the locker rooms and then on the sidelines, I think has helped me a ton. And I've been very fortunate, to have that seasoning, not even as a coach, but just to watch the game and realize that this is part of it. Your contract's up, and it was maybe a good year, maybe not a good year, and you fight on, and you see what happens next. And obviously, we all want to come back, but if that's not the case, then we'll scour the wire and see if we can find something else. But we're not going there yet. We're ready to fight, and it's just all about the guys, man. I've been super proud of every one of our players, particularly on special teams, because the meetings they're great. They challenge each other. They thank each other for making each other better. When a guy goes hard, instead of telling them to slow down, tell them, hey, that was good stuff, man, I need that. So just a lot of little stuff goes on that's been really cool that I learned a lot from him too. So the chemistry's been fantastic, and I think it'll carry on.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. John, you talked about records with Brandon. So he set the Cowboys single-season field goal record with 36 last year. His next kick will put him at 37 for this year. So he'll have 1 and 2 on the leaderboard with his next one. I mean, I guess he already does with 36.
Okay.
What does that mean about, sort of, to you, those records and the work you've done with him and his progressions when you look at these 2 years with him?
That's cool. So we made 36 last year was a record, and right now he's made 36. So we got one more. Yeah. We've talked about it a whole bunch of times. It's amazing to go back to where we were less than 2 years ago without a kicker, and we found one. And I keep saying, like, I think he's got to keep proving himself. I think he's proven himself. I think he's damn good. I think he's the very best in the league, which is crazy to say that, just entering, the finish of his second year in the league. But he's good. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, he's really good the way he practices. With Brian Anger's mentorship has been fantastic. I think the biggest thing is understanding the volume of practice. So we've kept his reps, honestly, very low, just to preserve the strength and the accuracy and the body. But, we've gotten into range, and he's been called on to make the kicks, and he's made the kicks. And I don't know, I think he's missed a couple of them. One from 70, one off 61. I think he might have missed another long one. He's made, I think, a 65 and a 66 that didn't count because of the penalty in Cleveland and something else. But can I say it again? I'm proud of him. He's really good, man.
Joe White, All City Dallas. You mentioned you've been on an expiring contract a few times at this point. I think that might be kind of a situation that the normal person doesn't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to focus on Washington, but what does the 24 hours, 72 hours, week after feel like of that kind of uncertainty for a coach?
Yeah, it's going to be stressful, to be honest with you. When the game ends and the Cowboys win Sunday night, the first thing everybody's going to be thinking of, well, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. I honestly don't know exactly. The contract ends a couple of days after the season or a week after the season. I haven't read it, honestly, so I don't know exactly what day it is. But there'll be a little bit of stressfulness with the coaches, because I think we all want to be here, and we all get along really good. And I think we all think we're good at what we do. But also there's a part of, with my wife and kids, and every other coach's wife and kids or significant others, they went to Florida for a couple of days just to kind of get away. Starting on Saturday, they left. They'll be back on Wednesday just to kind of remove themselves. And so that was kind of part of the deal. And they come back to reality, Thursday, and a couple of days later, we'll see what happens. But yeah, honestly, I haven't really thought about it probably till now. You guys asked the questions, and then this is the last one. So there will be a little stress element to it, but excitement also to see what's next, to be honest with you. The good thing about being here the last couple of years is 3 years prior, we didn't know when our last game was going to be because you're in the playoffs. This year, you know when your last game is going to be, and it sucks. But at least you kind of know like what's coming and when it's going to happen, and we'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation, but I haven't dove into that, and I'll be excited to see what happens next.
Go to Nick and I finish up with Sydney. Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. Would the relief of finality of it all just kind of be nice to have at this point?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, it's a great question, but I don't think there's, from my perspective, any relief for the finality of it. I'm actually, upset that there isn't more. I wish we could keep going on. Obviously, we can't, but I don't know if I've ever experienced relief at the end of a season because I haven't won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, there's not a relief at the end of the season. It's more of like a, damn, what if? I wish we could keep going. I wonder, all those questions come into play, and maybe a week or two after the season, you take a deep breath. And most of the time at the end of the season, I know for me, I've gotten the sick, or I got the flu, or I got shingles a couple of years ago, just because your body's so on fire, and you go and you go and you go, and then a couple of days or a week after the season, your body kind of relaxes. And I remember the same thing with my dad. You catch a cold or something happens, you're like, oh my gosh, your body kind of shuts down, and the rest takes over. So you don't need to know all that, but no relief, some disappointment for sure, probably more than anything.
When you look at these core special teamers, you bring in Trent and Brian, and obviously you can be credited with finding Brandon. What do you reflect on the most with those core guys that you've been able to work with?
With those particular guys, yeah, I think we got Trent off waivers. We got Brian off the street. We got Brandon in the USFL. Terp came out of the USFL via Poland, fan-controlled football league, all those. Me coming here, we're all the misfit toys that just found a way to find a role and establish ourselves and compete together, and Todd fight together. That's part of the thing is Wanye and Marquise undrafted. CJ been cut by 6 different teams, and so I think you find a lot of relationship building with guys that kind of have the same story of a down and out. They didn't really want me. They cut me. They traded me. I'm young. I didn't get drafted. Whatever it might be. I think that's kind of the cool part of the special teams is there's always kind of those stories or ways to overcome, and you kind of put it together and you go out there and you fight, protect your teammate, protect your brother, and you carry on. So I got probably 100 stories that we don't have time for, but it's a cool group to be a part of. Young guys, veteran guys that fight, man. And I probably couldn't. I've told the special teams guys this multiple times in the meeting that after certain games, that there isn't any more I could ask out of you. But we're not going to accept less. But I can't ask more. But I'm not going to take less. But I can ask more. Like there's been games where it's like, you guys put it out there, man. Come in battered and bruised on Monday. There's nothing else I could ask out of you. Just keep competing, and we did that. There's no doubt about it. We did that.
Coach, Sydney Staples, D210 Sports. You mentioned your dad earlier. Is there a specific piece of advice that you've learned from him over the years that has helped you get through this season in particular, with all of the kind of ups and downs it's presented?
Yeah, I remember years ago he told me one thing that I can't say. That's kind of a good one personally. That kind of always sticks with me, but I don't think other than that there's anything he says. I can always remember him. Hey, it's Monday. Did you win? Did you lose? Doesn't matter. It's the next game, the most important thing. remember the players, because it's your job to lift them up, not their job to lift you up. They need consistency. They don't need hothead and then all of a sudden joy. You know what I mean? So his messages of consistency resonate with me for sure. His messages of being super mentally tough as a coach resonate with me for sure, because in 17 games, clearly a lot of things can happen. And so that helps enable me to just, every Monday just get back to work. We're already 2 phases in on the Washington Commanders, and so we just get right back to it. And I miss my dad a lot because he was really good sounding board for the highs and the lows, and he kind of leveled me back off. But I can still remember all the good messages, especially the one that I can't say. But it's a good one. Maybe someday. Yeah. Hey, this is the last one this season. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are super pros. You ask fantastic questions. I think you're very well educated and studied, and so it's a privilege to get up here and talk football. That's the way I look at it, and so I thank you.
Thank you.